I'm Cynthia Izaguirre with a look at your headlines from across North Texas. And we begin with additional sentences handed down this week in the Alvarado ICE attack case. It comes 1 year after an officer was shot and wounded outside the Prairieland Detention Center. Scoop Jefferson was inside the courtroom as those sentences were handed down.
A second round of defendants convicted after the ICE detention facility protests turned violent learned their punishments.
For bravely protesting ICE detention.
Outside the federal courthouse in Fort Worth, reaction from the defendants' families, friends, and activists.
Any contact.
On July 4, 2025, prosecutors say a group gathered outside the Prairieland ICE Detention Center in Alvarado to protest. The demonstration turned violent, investigators say, during a shootout that left an Alvarado police officer injured. The group's leader, Benjamin Song, already sentenced to 100 years. In federal court Wednesday morning, the latest round of defendants facing sentencing all struck plea deals for leniency. Among them, Inez Soto, who received 50 years, a statement read by his son outside the courthouse.
It is up to all of us to push back. Remember that this happened. Remember how it happened.
And even more leniency for defendant Seth Sykes, sentenced 6 years. His attorneys calling it fair and explaining why the judge had more mercy on their client.
Our client didn't do any damage, but he was there with the group.
The judge handed down 22 months to protester Nathan Ballman, whose attorney had his mother and brother testify on his behalf.
They basically echoed what Nathan had told the judge, that this was out of character for him.
Early on, authorities characterized the seriousness of that night outside the detention facility.
This was an egregious attack on federal and local law enforcement officers.
More defendants are scheduled for sentencing next week, and lawyers for everyone involved await possible state charges from the Johnson County DA.
My guess is that they're going to take some time to digest what happened today.
In Fort Worth, I'm Scoop Jefferson.
Neighbors across North Texas have been beating the drum in their fight against data centers. This as the state becomes one of the centers of the booming AI industry. As Brittany Costello reports, they might have found a powerful politician on their side.
Concerns are growing.
We do not believe that data centers are good for Fort Worth.
In Fort Worth and North Richland Hills.
I feel like I met with a used car salesperson.
Many share the sentiment seen from the sky in Red Oak.
I don't want them in my neighborhood.
Same goes for Levon.
Definitely we want them to understand, listen, and truly see where their community is coming from.
Folks in Henderson County worry data centers will soon consume precious state resources.
It's going to affect their reproduction. It's going to affect, their water.
On the campaign trail Tuesday,
pushing back.
Governor Greg Abbott addressed the surge of developers looking for land to build technology warehouses.
We must prohibit them from building AI data centers in rural Texas neighborhoods.
While that may sound like a victory for folks rooting against them, Fort Worth City Councilman Michael Crane has another take.
What I've heard from him is let's put some smart regulations in place that really address the problem and the issue.
Crane says 5 new data centers are in various stages of construction. Those will add to 4 facilities he says have been around for years.
In Fort Worth, the city is working on new regulations specific to data centers. Everything from its water use to its strain on the electrical grid, even its noise impact to neighbors.
The city is moving through a rulemaking process.
People still aren't happy with that.
I think, honestly, Brittany, I go back to this myth and misinformation.
He looks forward to what he believes the governor hinted at. Data centers could be a top priority for state lawmakers.
Any AI data center even thinking about coming here, they got to bring their own money, bring their own power, reuse their own water, and do it in a way that reduces the cost of electricity for residents across our state.
In Fort Worth, I'm Brittany Costello.
A new policy is in place with Dallas police. The dress code was loosened to open the path for more potential recruits. But as Tiffany Liu reports, some feel this does not address the bigger issue for the city's officers.
Police officers traditionally dress a certain way.
From the day I joined the department in 1994, I was always taught that your appearance is your first level of defense.
But here in Dallas, that definition is changing.
The policy revision to our general orders to grooming and appearance.
Over the years, Dallas Police Department has loosened restrictions. In 2024, visible tattoos were approved, along with groomed and natural beards. Now, 2 years later, new updates are effective immediately.
We've standardized on a baseball hat. We already had, a tattoo policy, but now it allows specifically for stuff to go down and onto your hands. They included nose piercings.
To Sean Pease, the Dallas Police Association president, there are far more concerning issues than this.
They're talking about removing all this money, and our overtime is the cause of these budget issues and all that.
And on the same day the dress code changes were announced, some city employees learned they'll be furloughed for 3 days.
Officers want to feel comfortable with their funding.
Sheldon Smith with the National Black Police Association Dallas says the city of Dallas budget crisis should be the focus.
The dress code change is a string of changes in appearance. But at the end of the day, we want to be safe. We want to serve the citizens of Dallas, and we want to make sure that they're safe.
Both association leaders agree the lack of funding will impact recruitment and retention more than any baseball cap or tattoo, more than any piercing.
That policy change is minimal.
Appearance, they say, is a small part of a much bigger conversation for policing in Dallas.
Honestly, I got bigger fish to fry.
I'm Tiffany Liu.
The Universal Kids Park in Frisco is officially open. It is the latest testament to the booming growth the city has seen, but the project came with concerns over the traffic it could bring. Richard Solomon details opening day.
2, 1!
Just off Universal Parkway, you can find Frisco's newest attraction, Universal Kids Resort, finally open.
Everything good today for you guys? Excellent.
And just down the road, a new business already hoping to cash in on the crowds.
Yeah, certain days will be busier, some days slower. Saturday, Sunday, we do well.
Christian Navarro is the manager of Brunch District. They just opened a month ago, practically built around the same time as the resort.
You know, we got the fields, the PGA course, Universal right across the way. So, you know, in your time, it's gonna be busy all the time.
And that's why this is the perfect spot. Navarro has lived in Frisco for the last 9 years. He's seen what growth has done to this area. And Google Earth shows how much this area has grown.
A lot of dirt roads, a lot of single-way streets.
From 2016 to the latest update last year.
It's grown, and it's kind of crazy.
And with all this happening so fast, it does bring up concerns of traffic buildup.
Our engineering team planned for it. So the roads and infrastructure was put in advance.
Frisco Mayor Jeff Cheney says they kept that in mind specifically with this design. The resort works in off-peak hours.
Along the tollway, you don't want to build all offices, right? Because they're coming and going at the same time. And so this was a great traffic mitigation tool.
As Frisco continues to grow, businesses are betting this newest destination won't just bring visitors.
So I think it's just it's a recipe for success here.
It'll help shape the city's next chapter. In Frisco, I'm Richard Solomon.
And that's a look at your headlines from across North Texas.
I'm Quita Culpepper in Austin. What happens when the images you share online are no longer in your control? That's the dilemma one Central Texas college student is facing after her social media presence took an unexpected turn. KVU's Jessica Chaw spoke with her and her family about the dark side of social media and how she says AI is being used to exploit her image.
Identity theft used to look like a stolen credit card or a scam text, but now it can look much more personal.
Yeah, they stole all of these. Like, here's one that they took, and I'm in class painting.
At 19 years old, Lexi has been building a TikTok following for the last 3 years by sharing everyday moments.
It's like basketball content, plus I'm dancing. I post, like, on some of these, you can see me brand deals.
And a lot of it is shot by her mom, Summer Fillmore.
I'm with her, I'm by her side, even now as a 19-year-old, because you just can't trust anybody.
And she says for good reason, because a lot of eyes are watching the videos and the pictures she posts, and now even the ones that she hasn't.
My request, it says, "You don't have a Facebook, do you? Someone is pretending to be you, posting old videos with naughty captions."
In April, a Facebook account surfaced with Lexi's name.
It's my exact username, besides the capitalization.
With about 400 pictures and videos taken from her Instagram and TikTok accounts.
Even though it's not me, that's my face, that's my pictures, especially when most of the pictures were from when I was under 18.
But the account using her underage photos wasn't the most disturbing part. Lexi says a link to a Telegram account on that Facebook page is what really scared her.
We're posting nasty, dirty captions. They had add links to a Telegram with AI-generated photos and videos on there of me with my face, things of all that nature, and it was just disgusting to see, honestly.
Lexi says they were sexually explicit AI-generated images of her behind a paywall. Fillmore says to a stranger, they could look real.
This is my child. This is my baby. And for somebody to violate her in this way, I understand her worries and her concerns about what if a coach sees this? What if, a teammate sees this? What if a future employer sees this?
First, they say they tried reporting the Facebook account for impersonation and nudity.
The more that we reported it, the more they came back and they said, there's nothing wrong with it.
And then they went to the San Marcos police. But Fillmore says it wasn't easy to get the case assigned.
This is the sexual exploitation of a minor. How is this not being taken seriously?
But Sergeant Kai Kennedy with San Marcos PD's Criminal Investigations Unit says they do take these cases seriously, but they're getting used to handling them.
This is the first major case that I've seen of this type. The technology moves faster than some of the laws, and we have to play catch up.
Kennedy says what makes these cases especially difficult to track is because almost anyone can access this technology without saying who they are. And contacting social media companies to try and get information about a user can take a long time.
If they are tipped off, or if they're made aware, or if they suspect that we're looking for them, they can shut down their site, they can shut down their user accounts, create new user accounts, use a different IP address and start all over again. And then we're back to ground zero.
In Lexi's case, the Facebook page and the Telegram page were both deleted a few weeks after she and her mother reported them. Kennedy says that complicates the investigation.
There's not enough evidence for me to proceed with this, and we unfortunately have to close this case down. And whether it's an AI image that's been put out there, again, we have the ability to get those images taken down. But the damage is already done. The psychological damage has been done.
Which leaves victims like Lexi feeling lost in a vast digital space.
They're going to see my real TikTok, my real Instagram, and then that fake Facebook and that fake Telegram. And they wouldn't even know that it's not me because they stole my exact name, like they stole everything.
I feel like I can't win because who wants something like that up? Every single day that's up, she's being victimized.
For this student and her family, the damage isn't just digital, but deeply personal.
And that was Jessica Cha reporting. San Marcos PD says just because an account is deleted doesn't mean that the footprint is gone, so they're seeing if the FBI can help. KVUE reached out to Meta for a comment on this story a week ago, and we have yet to hear back. The Austin Fire Department worked quickly to contain a fire in South Austin on Wednesday. Crews were called to a warehouse on East St. Elmo Wednesday morning. They say a lithium-ion battery ignited inside the building. The Fire Association is reminding people to follow safety guidelines when charging and storing lithium-ion batteries, and never use one that's damaged, swollen, or overheating. Today, we got more information about the crash that shut down the 130 toll road on Monday in Williamson County when a semi-truck fell off an overpass. The driver of the other vehicle involved is now facing a criminal charge. According to DPS, the SUV hit the semi that was towing a trailer on Chandler Road. They say that caused the truck to fall off the overpass and land on the main lanes of the 130 toll road. The SUV driver, 38-year-old Rayford Washington, is charged with driving while intoxicated with child under 15. His 5-year-old and 9-year-old were also in the car. The semi-truck driver, 59-year-old Eric Fields, died at the scene. Washington is in the Williamson County Jail on a $50,000 bond. An Elgin High School coach was arrested on campus Wednesday morning on a child sexual assault charge. Elgin police say officers executed a felony arrest warrant just before 9 o'clock at the request of the Bastrop Police Department. 43-year-old Jacob Donald Johns was arrested and booked into the Bastrop County Jail. Officials say there's no ongoing threat to students, staff, or the community. It's been nearly 1 year since the deadly floods hit Central Texas on Wednesday. One nonprofit shared how much direct financial help they provided to impacted families. KVU's Adam Bennett breaks down the numbers.
At San Gabriel Park in Georgetown on Wednesday, people were wading in the water nearly a year after running from the river. The San Gabriel overflowed in July 2025, one of many parts of Central Texas that flooded that holiday weekend. Over at Central Texas Community Foundation, Executive Director Amy Merida offered help.
We said we've got the systems already in place. Williamson County first almost immediately said, yes, please.
County officials helped spread the word.
If you want to help these people financially, a great way to do it is through the Wilco Cares program.
On Wednesday, the nonprofit shared the impact of the dollars from nearly 150 corporate gifts and more than 1,200 individual donors, with a big boost from the Band Together concert. Around $9.4 million given to people across 4 impacted counties. That includes nearly $8 million total to Travis and Williamson counties. Around 260 families and individuals got direct, unrestricted financial assistance. Awards ranged from $500 to $100,000.
Average gift, I think, in round 1 was in the low 30s. By round 2, we're closer to $40,000 as the average gift for individuals.
Merida says the nonprofit verified location and income. They also appointed an outside counsel and worked with actuaries to determine need.
We come with our own ideas of who's in the greatest need, but we really wanted a fair and impartial process.
Nearly a year later, Merida says Central Texans' generosity
Community is 1,200 regular people giving between $5 and $500.
and the gratitude of those they helped
Talking about the worst day of my life and what it feels like to make progress and get back on your feet.
are the stories that stick. Now, Merida says recovery is a process that takes years, not just months. So her group, Community Foundation, is still working with local groups here in Williamson County, along with Travis County, to help survivors with their unmet needs. In Georgetown, Adam Bennett, KV News.
And that's all from us here in Austin. Hope you have a great day.
For Texas News Now Weather, I'm Bill Taylor. Want to start with the tropics. You know, we haven't talked much about hurricanes yet. It's early. Keep that in mind. But we're also going to be talking about an El Nino season, so we're not expecting an average to even above average amount of storms this year because El Nino usually suppresses tropical development. Colorado State University and, of course, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, aka NOAA, with their forecasts. You know, on average, we get 14. They're saying 13. Of those 13 named storms, we're expecting 6. And of those 6, 2 would be Category 3 or better, which would be considered a major hurricane. Keep in mind that this is the time of year where things are quiet in hurricane season. We typically see the peak of season September 10th. So it's going to be a while. In fact, it usually gets to about mid-August through mid-September. That 4-week stretch is when we see the most action in the Caribbean and the Gulf. But as I mentioned, we're not expecting to see a lot of action this season because of the warming of the Pacific. We usually get a sinking air motion in the Atlantic basin, and that, of course, is not conducive to vertical development on tropical storms. And we get a lot more wind shear in an El Nino season. And when El Nino gets really going, and that's going to be late summer into fall, that's when we expect a lot of wind shear, and that high wind shear environment just shears the top of those storms trying to develop. All right, want to talk about the coast. A lot of you are going to be heading down for the 4th, and it looks like wave heights will be cooperative, 2 to 3 feet, the highest. That's going to be at Rockport and Port A. And temperatures are just about right. I mean, you know, this might look warm when you see it for water, but I'm telling you, this is comfortable when you're talking about upper 80s at Galveston and Corpus Christi as the highest. High pressure still remains our major weather player. Even though it's centered off to the east, it's still having most of its impact on our Texas weather. It'll strengthen its grip, it'll loosen its grip, and most of what we'll see change, the coastal showers. It'll be more or less sea breeze breeze energy that comes in from the western Gulf, and not much more than that. The West Texas dry line will be active as well. You'll see that rain, thunderstorms, showers from, again, Big Bend all the way up through Lubbock, Amarillo, where you normally get some severe thunderstorms. In fact, by later tonight, we're expecting a line of some pretty strong thunderstorms between Lubbock and Amarillo. As we get into Thursday, some pretty good coastal rain moving in. What's happening, we do have a trough axis in the Gulf. That's just an elongated area of low pressure, not a big swirling low, and certainly nothing we have to watch for with tropical development, but an area of low pressure nonetheless. And it will ignite a few showers across the coastal bend and maybe up into East Texas Thursday and again on Friday. Notice the I-10 corridor for Friday afternoon. And keep that in mind for just a few scattered showers if in case any traveling is going to be on I-10 heading into 4th of July weekend. Speaking of which, let's look at the 4th of July, namely 10 p.m. hour. Good news is most of the rain from yesterday's forecast to today's forecast beginning to thin out. This is why you watch it every day, especially when you're looking at mid-range to long-range model data, as in from now into Saturday. Okay, we're not looking at the high-res data yet. So the mid-range data is showing it less rain in North Texas for Saturday night, a lot less rain than what we saw yesterday, if you were with me, across West Texas. So this is an improving forecast. Now it looks like the bullseye on any kind of rain during firework hour, which I'll call 9 to 10 p.m. when it gets dark, is going to be right around the state capitol. So it's definitely something to keep a watch on. We're not looking at a lot of rainfall. Either way, what showers do develop is probably going to put the most rain across East Texas, from Houston right up Sabine Pass at maybe an inch or more. As you move west, look at those rainfall totals just diminish quick. They pick up again in far West Texas, but not very much to be concerned with, that's for sure. Extended forecast time for the great state of Texas, and we're looking pretty dry as we head Thursday into Friday. It will be warmer, especially in McAllen and El Paso, as we've got triple-digit heat waiting for you there. 101 in El Paso on Saturday the 4th, and then rain chances don't look too widespread until we get into really Sunday and Monday time frame. For Texas News Now weather, I'm Bill Taylor.
Here's a look at today's headlines across Houston. Hello, I'm Len Cannon. Her entire life was in front of her, but tonight the family of 19-year-old Zion Branch is mourning her tragic death. Investigators say Zion was killed when a man drove his pickup into the Nothing Bundt cake shop where she worked. Devon Ramin speaks with her relatives.
Well, the store here behind me remains closed and boarded up as people have been coming and going all morning long, dropping off flowers and messages of comfort for the family as this entire community comes together grieving this loss. What should have been another ordinary shift ended in tragedy for 19-year-old Zion Branch. Now, outside the Nothing Bundt Cakes where she worked, flowers and messages mark the spot where a young life was cut short.
Just looking through that window, she didn't stand a chance. It is not making any sense.
Her mother, Caramel Brown, is still struggling to process what happened. Investigators say a driver in his late 70s accidentally hit the accelerator instead of the brake, crashing through the front of the bakery. Brown says she's not convinced.
This does not look like an accident to me.
But amid the questions surrounding the crash, Brown says what hurts most is thinking about everything her daughter had planned. Zion had a passion for baking from an early age, with dreams of one day opening a bakery of her own. That dream, though, is what led her to take a job at Nothing Bundt Cakes.
Getting this job at Nothing Bundt Cakes, she already knew the baking side. She wanted to learn the financial aspects, the operation aspects of things.
Brown says her daughter was preparing for the next chapter of her life with goals of a finance degree. She had just received her acceptance letter to the University of Houston downtown the morning of the crash. And while she was loved by many, her greatest love was at home.
Everything, her goals that she strived for, how great, oh my God, how great of an older sister she was. Her and her sister are 1 year apart. And she was the most awesome older sister. And her baby sister is devastated. Just devastated. I don't know what we are going to do without Zion every day at our home.
Brown says when her daughter didn't answer calls after work, she immediately sensed something was off.
She was supposed to be off at 4:15. And by 4:45, I was on my way knowing that something was wrong. I felt that in my soul. My baby was gone.
Now, the Harris County Sheriff's Office, as well as the Harris County District Attorney's Office, is leading this investigation, and they will determine whether any charges in this case will be filed. In Atascocita, Devon Rahman, KHOU 11 News.
We are talking to an Air Force veteran who tried to fight off robbery suspects in Pearland. Police say they moved in moments after the man withdrew money from an ATM. Jason Miles speaking exclusively with that veteran. He has more from the Walgreens where it happened.
In one of those spots near the front door is where the victim ended up on the ground. He says he considered fighting back, but it was 2-on-1, and he is almost 80. A routine trip to this Walgreens back on June 19th included a stop at an interior ATM. But within seconds of exiting the front door, an Air Force veteran we've agreed not to fully identify was laid out on the ground as a young man ran away with his wallet.
And I mean, this was 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday afternoon, broad daylight.
James believes he was being watched as he took money from this machine, which he thought might be safer since it's inside. He says he never knew what hit him when at least one suspect took several swings.
And I didn't know if he had a gun or a knife. I mean, I could have fought up maybe a little bit more, but I'm going to be 80 this year. I've got bad knees and I've got a bad arthritis, so I can't move that fast.
Pearland police say they previously arrested an alleged lookout and getaway driver from Houston and released this video in hopes of identifying the third suspect. Turns out he's a juvenile, which is why we're now blurring his face.
They preyed on this man as he left it, felt he was an easy target, and it's sad to see it. It's a very sad video to watch.
James says he's thankful he wasn't more seriously injured. Meanwhile, he has to replace everything that was stolen, in addition to $240.
I had to cancel credit cards, debit card. I had to get I have a temporary driver's license. I had to get a retirement, Air Force military retirement card, all that kind of crap, so yeah, it's just a pain.
The victim says he plans to be even more vigilant and aware of his surroundings in the future, although he doesn't know what else he could have done in this case. Meanwhile, anyone with information on that remaining suspect should call Pearland Police. In Pearland, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
As we approach America's 250th birthday, we honor a man whose influence and leadership still being felt 6 years since his passing. Dr. Thomas Freeman inspired generations at Texas Southern University as head of the legendary TSU speech and debate team. Now his legacy lives on through a powerful new stage production. Katira Winfrey with the story.
The story of America. We feel it, we see it, and we hear it.
Beaten, mistreated for the work that I gave.
The tales laid out over time provide a timeline of peaks and valleys. Yet all of it still vital to America's story.
You cannot talk about the history of America or celebrate 250 years of this America without acknowledging the contributions of Blacks, African Americans throughout the centuries.
Film director and Texas Southern professor Vincent Powell, with a host of supporting cast members, have a story to tell through a new live stage production, Black is Eternal, practicing now to present a program packed with historic literature, song, poetry, and prose.
As a storyteller, I wouldn't be who I am without people like Dr. Thomas F. Freeman. And the first day I met him, he put the words of James Baldwin in my hand.
Dr. Thomas Freeman headed the TSU speech and debate team for 70 years, leading them to countless victories. He died in 2020, but that passion for words, literature, and storytelling lives.
Dr. Freeman at TSU had such a role in what has become Black is Eternal.
Black is Eternal began on social media, featuring actors performing literary works from Black artists like Langston Hughes, Countee Cullen, Claude McKay, Frederick Douglass.
What then to the Negro is the 4th of July.
Powell, using the lessons and coaching from the late Freeman, is directing a new cast to bring the words on the page to life, featuring actors like Brandon Goss and Miaja Brooks.
Black history is American history, so it's very important, especially on the 250th anniversary of America, to continue to give a voice to the voiceless.
This is very important to make sure our stories are continually being heard.
America 250 years later looks a lot different, but the grit and talent that got this nation this far hasn't faltered. And America's story isn't finished.
It reminds me of what Langston Hughes said. He said, "I too sing America."
Reporting in Houston, Katira Winfrey, KHOU 11 News.
That is a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Len Cannon.
Hi, I'm Leslie Adamy in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's happening here in South Texas. What started as a brutal robbery in Robstown quickly turned into a search across county lines. And the call happened when our team was with the sheriff's office working on another story, giving us a front row seat as they hopped into action to track down the suspect. The search ending here in Duval County as deputies closed in on a suspect vehicle linked to that robbery out of Robstown. Authorities say the driver pulled over and the suspect, said to be from Laredo, was taken into custody without resisting. Investigators say the case started miles away at a restaurant where a passing driver called 911 after seeing two men attacking the victim.
Because when he did get out of his vehicle is when the assault took place. As soon as he got out, two men with ski masks, one with a rifle, one with a shotgun, encountered him, struck him in the head, dropped him on the ground, struck him a few more times, and they stole the currency from him.
After that, we got contacted from Alice PD that the suspect vehicle had hit their license plate readers coming towards San Diego. As soon as it came out over the radio, I met that vehicle, waited till we got in a safe area and conducted a traffic stop.
A terrifying scene leading to that cross-county chase. Authorities say surveillance video helped to identify the suspect vehicle, and even though part of the license plate had been covered, they were still able to track it down. And for more than 25 years, one of Nueces County's oldest unsolved mysteries has remained just that, a mystery. And now investigators are hoping a new forensic facial reconstruction could finally put a name to the young woman whose skull was found in a creek bed. Our Michael Gibson reports.
Nueces County investigators are taking another long, hard look at an old cold case from the year 2000. That's when a skull of a young woman was found in a creek bed by a couple of children fishing.
The case has a new lead in the form of a forensic facial reconstruction created by an artist with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Investigators say this is what the 15 to 25-year-old Hispanic woman may have looked like in life. Her skull was discovered on May 16th of 2000 in Cayman Creek near Old San Patricio.
Well, I'm hoping that somebody recognizes the photo or similarities between that and family members or even associates that may have known this person. People are the best source of information.
Investigators say they revisit this case every few years, but despite renewed efforts, it has remained unsolved. I reviewed the medical examiner's case file with Director of Operations Joe Hayen, who says the Nueces County Medical Examiner's Office has more than 100 sets of unidentified human remains still waiting to be identified.
Part of the scope of our work in working with local law enforcement, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, there's just a lot of groups out there that are trying to bring closure to families and identify these missing people.
The medical examiner's office says a full DNA profile was developed from that skull, but no match has ever been made through the national database. Investigators say if someone recognizes the reconstructed image, relatives could provide a DNA sample to determine whether it matches the victim. Now, it's one of 25 cold cases that this investigator is working to solve, and he hopes someone out there can recognize this reconstructed face. Michael Gibson, 3 News.
And that is a quick look at some of what's happening here in South Texas.
Here's your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong. Accused killer Tydrick Davis. He's back in custody after being accidentally released from state custody in March. Davis facing murder charges for the 2024 killing of Ebony Gilbert, who was fatally shot outside of her Beaumont home after confronting 3 suspects accused of breaking into her car. 12 News reporter Daniela Tabuada-Palau, she spoke to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office about why he was let go in the first place.
because the crime that he's accused of is so horrific. We wanted him back in custody.
That's exactly what happened Friday when murder suspect Tydrick Davis was captured in Denton County after a 3-week search.
From the moment that we heard, the DA's office contacted us. We do what we do. We put boots on the streets.
Davis was released from state jail in March, but Sheriff Zena Stevens says they didn't find out till June 15, the same day 12 News reported the discovery, a situation the sheriff wanted to clarify.
He was released from prison after serving his sentence on a theft, a state jail felony theft. After their release, there was no need, in their opinion, to contact us.
Since then, questions have centered on how Davis was released despite facing a murder charge in Jefferson County.
We take prisoners to CDC, or they come to our facility, and they're hand given we call it a PIM packet. It's a whole packet full of everything that they've been through while they were in Jefferson County.
12 News obtained a copy of that form which requested Davis to be returned to Jefferson County once his state sentence ended. Now, both TDCJ and the Sheriff's Office are looking at ways to prevent a similar mistake from happening again.
We're making sure that we are still hand delivering it, but we will also be emailing it, and we will be sending it to their detainer division. So 3 different redundancies, so no one can say that they didn't receive it.
That was Daniela Tabuada-Palau reporting on the family of Ebony Gilbert. They released this statement saying that we would like to express our deepest gratitude to Sheriff Zena Stevens and all law enforcement officers for their unwavering dedication and tireless efforts in bringing those responsible for the death of our beloved Ebony Gilbert to justice. Well, after 30 years of fear, a Hardin County woman says that she finally feels a sense of relief. Jay Santos Reyes Martinez, he was sentenced to the maximum of 20 years in prison for indecency with a child by sexual contact. That crime had happened all the way back in 1994 when the victim was just 6 years old. 12 News reporter Ebony Coleman spoke to the victim, and we do want to warn you the details that Jessica Browning discussed with us, they are disturbing.
Or being in Walmart shopping and look around and he's there, like that was terrifying.
Jessica Browning says she met Jay Santos Reyes Martinez during a family trip to Mexico. Her mother had married his brother.
They wanted to go to another city called Monterey, and they left me with my step-grandmother.
But she says Martinez was also there and had been drinking when her grandmother asked her to bring him a glass of water.
He grabbed me, put one hand over my mouth, put me on the bed, and he stuck his hand in my shirt.
Browning says she was only 6 years old, but the abuse would continue until she was 11 after Martinez moved into her home in Batson.
I was left alone with him, and they went to Houston, I believe, and I was scared, and I thought he was asleep on the couch.
Browning says she eventually told her stepmother at the time and her father, who then told police. But it would be 30 years until Martinez was brought to justice.
He did have employment in the U.S. and he would work for a certain time, and then he would leave and go to Mexico and come back.
Hardin County Assistant District Attorney Pamela Ebay says he would take his last trip after being caught in Laredo last year.
A bus he was traveling in was pulled over for inspection, and they found he had a warrant.
Browning says while she's grateful Martinez is behind bars, she wishes more could have been done to protect her as a child.
I really felt, like I said, unheard and unprotected as a child because the people in my life that did know about it, the adults, didn't do the right thing. And that's part of the reason why I'm telling my story, so that adults can see the signs and it can be brought to light.
And those were the headlines here from Southeast Texas.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. A San Antonio couple is at the center of a murder-suicide investigation in Gillespie County. The investigation near Fredericksburg has rattled the community and puzzled investigators working to figure out what happened. Reporter Zach Briggs spoke to the county sheriff and has the latest.
We're a little over 10 miles east of downtown Fredericksburg and was here along the 700 block of Hahn Road where, according to Gillespie County Sheriff Chris Ayala yesterday, an off-duty firefighter was running an errand when he suddenly came across a car, and outside were 2 bodies.
I can't believe it's happened in this area.
Ryan Behrens owns much of this land off Hahn Road. He had no clue about what was happening Monday afternoon until he answered this one phone call.
We have renters in the house, and he contacted me, said that there was something going on up Hahn Road and that the law enforcement had it blocked off.
This was a husband and wife situation.
Just before 4:30 p.m., once the off-duty firefighter called authorities, Gillespie County Sheriff's deputies took over the scene.
After a short, thorough investigation, they determined it was a murder-suicide.
Both in their 50s from San Antonio, Sheriff Chris Ayala says the husband shot and killed his wife before taking his own life.
We don't know what people are going through no matter what community they live in. It is heartbreaking. I'm not going to deny that. But as a professional, we hope that people would seek help, but sometimes they just don't. And then this is the end result.
Investigators have been talking with family of the 2 people killed, hoping to learn what may have led to this fatal ending. The sheriff not yet releasing the names of those involved.
I personally believe as we learn from the tragedies of our society that maybe we can help prevent this from happening in the future. And so right now the biggest work is the why, and that's what our investigators are doing.
Zach Briggs, KENS 5.
Now to continuing coverage on a story we've been following regarding illegal parties. The parties are advertised on social media and taking place on properties without the owner's consent. As Mike Jimenez explains, police and city officials are now taking action.
I'm actually really surprised no one got run over and killed. It was crazy.
Video taken Saturday night by home builder Jeff Jaffet at his construction site in the Chavano Ranch area on the north side shows hundreds of kids running away after police arrived to break up a party that was being held at the property without Jaffet's consent.
It was a lot worse than that, seeing from the video. Illegal drugs, kids drinking and driving. It was lawless.
Jaffet says over the past 2 weeks, multiple parties were advertised on social media and held at the site where a cover was charged. Jaffet estimates the party caused between $300,000 to $500,000 in thefts and damages, including $80,000 in lumber that was used in a bonfire. The property is gated, but Jaffet says partygoers are prying open the gates. Jaffet even hired private security, but they were overwhelmed by the amount of people who showed up, so he called police for help. Frustrated, Jaffet reached out to KENS 5 because he said police did show up but let everyone on the property leave without any consequences. After stories we aired, Jaffet says police are now listening.
A couple phone calls from police, had a sit-down meeting with one at the Pruro substation. Seemed positive, seemed productive.
Jaffet says a representative from District 9, Councilwoman Misty Spears' office, has also reached out.
They talked with the developer, talked with me. I've got another meeting with them later this afternoon. Sounds like things are going in the right direction. Time will tell.
Tuesday morning, San Antonio police sent a statement that read, SAPD Proves Safe is working with Mr. Jaffet to address his concerns at the construction sites. Last night, with the assistance of Leon Valley PD, we were able to shut down 2 parties, one in Leon Valley and another at La Cantera. Steps are being taken to identify the individual responsible for organizing the parties and hold them accountable for damages done to Mr. Jaffet's property. Jaffet says he realizes police resources are limited, so he wants to help by offering a reward to anyone who can turn the organizers into police.
That's $10,000, all cash, no questions asked. I think there's 2 of them, so it's a total of $25,000 I'm putting out there as a reward for their arrest and conviction.
Oh, we are just days away from the 4th of July, and for many, that means fun, friends, and fireworks. But as Jeremy Baker reports, the sights and sounds can bring back traumatic memories for those suffering from PTSD.
Fireworks are often seen as a harmless form of entertainment and celebration, but for many with PTSD and trauma, those displays can trigger physical and emotional responses that can be very distressing, especially for veterans.
I've often asked individuals, what should we do to help our veterans on the 4th of July? Should they stay in their home and put headphones on so they can't hear that? And my reaction is, no, you want them to do the opposite.
A 2025 PTSD UK study looked at 261 people with PTSD and found more than 95% cited unpredictability as a key trigger for their symptoms. And more than 1 out of 4 had sought medical help as a direct result of fireworks. So how can those with PTSD avoid the trauma and tackle their troubles?
You want them to engage in as many fireworks shows as possible, because part of recovery is to learn there's certain events, they may be trauma triggers, but there's no real true danger.
One way that many get over their fear of fireworks is through exposure therapy by continuously watching displays from locations like here, the parking lot of La Cantera with Six Flags right behind me.
In some of our treatment programs, we send people to La Cantera shopping area, right next to Fiesta, Texas. Why? Because there's fireworks shows every night.
For more advice on how to limit your fear of fireworks, we have links with this story on KENS5.com. From the city's north side, Jeremy Baker, KENS 5.
And that's the news in San Antonio.
Hi, I'm Dan Millay, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. There's new developments in the alleged assault of a young woman outside a Longview nightclub, where 3 women are now facing charges of assault causing bodily injury. We obtained the arrest warrant affidavits, which outline the allegations in the case. CBS 19's Renee Estrada explains what we've learned in the case and some of the details in the documents. They may be hard to hear.
This is the arrest document for 21-year-old Alana Munfree from Longview. She's one of 3 women accused by police of assaulting Sammy Howery after leaving Whiskey J's back in June 21st. You may recall this viral social media post at the center of the Longview police criminal investigation, where the victim posted photos and a video of what she looked like after the alleged attack. Sierra Ann Fuller from Longview and Dejaya Brown from Pittsburgh are also charged with assault in the case. The affidavit alleges several witnesses heard racially motivated comments about the assault tied back to the murder conviction of Carmelo Anthony in North Texas. The affidavit doesn't identify who made the statements. In the arrest affidavit, a security guard reportedly told officers he heard someone in the crowd saying in part, quote, "I'm going to hit her," and then later seeing a group of women assaulting the victim, who he helped get away from the crowd. The affidavit also included 2 other witness accounts. One told police there were no prior issues in the bar between the victim and the suspects, while the other witness to the assault stated he heard a woman say, quote, "Any white girl can get it, and free Carmelo." He also explained he tried breaking up the fight and called police after the story went viral on the assault. Longview police held a press conference pleading with the public not to jump to conclusions or spread unverified information online.
We cannot allow outside voices, online agitators, and anyone else to stir up a pot of hate, confusion, and division in our community. There are real people involved here. There are families involved. There is an investigation involved. And because of that, this moment requires responsibility from all of us.
The documents also stated that during their interviews with the victim, officers were also told about alleged social media post from one of the suspects that stated, "taking fades for Carmelo all day." Investigators say this is a slang term that means to engage in confrontation deliberately. Documents also reveal a search warrant of Fuller's phone also uncovered a text thread between the suspect that states, quote, "We gotta get our story straight, friend," and another that said in part, quote, "We shouldn't have did that." Tonight in studio, I'm Renee Estrada.
As East Texans gear up for 4th of July celebrations, experts say fireworks can quickly turn a night of fun into a trip to the emergency room or even the animal shelter. CBS 19's Jamie Hazard shows us how a few simple precautions can help keep both your family and your pets safe this holiday weekend.
The sights and sounds of fireworks are a 4th of July tradition across East Texas, but they're also responsible for serious injuries and frightened pets every year. Medical experts say one of the biggest mistakes people make is handling fireworks too closely.
The biggest thing that we see is people handling fireworks inappropriately, putting them in their hands, trying to hold them while they fire them off, trying to throw them, and they go off sooner than they expect. And unfortunately, those become some pretty devastating injuries.
Doctors say fireworks can cause everything from painful burns to permanent vision loss and even amputations. They recommend lighting only one firework at a time, never relighting one that doesn't ignite, and always keeping a bucket of water or hose nearby.
Anything from minor burns to debilitating hand or finger losses. Can have some that have had eye loss as well, or definitely some vision damage.
While people may know the risks, our four-legged family members face dangers of their own. The loud explosions can send frightened pets running, making the 4th of July one of the biggest times of the year for animal shelters.
Animals don't understand what's happening. They don't understand what fireworks are, and so their first instinct is usually to run. And so that's why we recommend that people keep their animals indoors, keep them secured. That way you don't run the risk of losing your pet on the 4th of July.
Animal experts say even pets that normally stay outside should be brought indoors during fireworks. Keeping them in a familiar environment and making sure they're microchipped can make all the difference if they do get loose.
Absolutely. We recommend that people microchip their pets. It's a very easy procedure. It's very painless, and it can provide information for if your animal does get away.
Experts also recommend talking with your veterinarian ahead of time if your pet has severe anxiety around loud noises. And while fireworks may be the focus of this weekend, they're reminding families not to overlook other holiday dangers.
Using alcohol responsibly. We don't want to see you driving. We don't want to see you out boating after alcohol use, and we don't want to see anybody handling fireworks while intoxicated either.
Whether you're celebrating in your backyard or heading to the lake, experts say planning ahead can help ensure the only thing lighting up the night sky this 4th of July is the fireworks themselves. In Tyler, Jamie Hazard, CBS 19.
That's a wrap of your East Texas headlines. I'm Dan Millay.
I'm Adrian Carbajal. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. A new development in a former Belton High teen's appeal to overturn his conviction and 10-year prison sentence. Just a year after his sentencing, Orsini Walker has the latest in Case and Allison's legal battle.
Case and Allison's attorneys are appealing the former Belton High student's criminally negligent homicide verdict and 10-year prison sentence for stabbing and killing classmate Joe Ramirez. They argue 3 key mistakes happened in his trial. First, the appellant outlines jurors were never told they could consider self-defense for the lesser charge of criminally negligent homicide. Second, Allison's team says prosecutors failed to disprove Allison acted in self-defense, bringing up details from the trial, like Ramirez punching Allison first. And third, the deadly weapon finding. A jury never explicitly said a deadly weapon was used in their verdict. A judge did, and it wasn't during the trial, according to the appellant. 6 News spoke with legal analyst Liz Mitchell before the deadly weapon enhancement was approved. She explained the impact it could have.
There is an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon. The judge cannot give the defendant probation. So whether or not there is a deadly weapon finding in this case is critically important.
The deadly weapon finding took Allison's max sentence from 2 years to 10. But the Bell County DA's office says none of it holds up. They argue Allison's lawyers never asked for the self-defense instruction and say self-defense isn't compatible with the negligence charge in the first place. As for evidence, the state points out several counter details, like Allison bringing the weapon to school, allegedly planning a fight, and stabbing Ramirez multiple times. And on the deadly weapon issue, prosecutors say Allison chose to let the judge decide his punishment, and Texas law allows that judge to make the finding.
The defense is asking for a new trial, an acquittal, or a new sentence without the deadly weapon finding. The Texas Third Court of Appeals has until July 20th to rule. In other news, a 9-year-old from Copperas Cove is proving big dreams can start early. She earned a spot at the Junior Olympics, an accomplishment many athletes spend years chasing. Now she's preparing to represent her city, her country, and her Haitian heritage on a national stage. Our Adriana Alexander shares the determination that's helping this young athlete chase gold.
First, second, and third. Let's bring it home.
She said, Coach, I'm going to be a junior Olympian, and that's where she is.
9-year-old Layla Dumourant has set her eyes on the gold.
I was really dedicated. I really wanted it, so I ran my hardest and my best.
After running track and field in Copper's Cove for around a year, Layla earned one of the final qualifying spots in this year's Junior Olympics.
My best event used to be the 200, and now it's starting to be the 400 meter, and that's the event I got into Junior Olympics with.
Let's go, Cheetahs! Despite being new to running, Layla's coach, Christopher Moorhead, said he knew she had it in her to go far.
Once the season started going on, you could tell that she started getting more comfortable with the training, with what comes with it, and she gave it her all.
And Layla says she's put the work in to earn her spot in the starting blocks.
It's gonna feel amazing because I really did put my heart and soul into running track.
For the Dumoulin family, the journey to the Junior Olympics is also a chance to celebrate their heritage.
This is a big opportunity, for her, because we're all Haitian descent, but she was born here, so she's also part of being of Haitian. So it's great for her to support the Haitian community as well.
Together, they say this opportunity is about representing both the Copper's Cove community and their Haitian heritage on a national stage.
I'm beyond proud, she's really talented, and I'm really proud of her.
The national competition will take place in Norwalk, California from July 27th through August 2nd. And those are your headlines from Central Texas.